Good afternoon, everyone. Just finished caucus, and as tradition goes, after the election, the first caucus is when we have our leadership elections. And so we just concluded that, and proud to stand here with our new leadership team in the Iowa Senate. And I'll just go through and point those positions out. Senator Jake Chapman was just elected as our new president of the Senate. Brad Zaun was elected as our president pro tem. Amy Sinclair was elected as our majority whip. And then we have 4 assistant leaders, Carrie Koelker, Zach Whiting, Chris Cournoyer, and then Mark Lofgren. And I think you see a great diversity of people from around the state, some that have been here a long time, some that are brand new. And I think it really shows the quality of the candidates that we've had the last few years, that some of our younger members, Chris, Carrie, Zach, they're all just starting their 3rd year and already moving up into leadership. And so I think that says a lot about the quality of people that we have brought into our team and into our caucus. So we're very excited about this new leadership team. Caucus is really fired up, very happy with the results of the election on Tuesday night, and I think more than anything it just shows that the people of Iowa are fully supportive of the agenda that we have put forward, supportive of the leadership that the governor and the legislature has shown over the last several years. And I think it shows an appreciation of our economy still doing well, people getting back to work, and really we feel that Iowans want us to continue down that path. And so we're very excited to start this next legislative session to continue to build upon what we've done over the last few years. The pro-growth, pro-job, economy type issues that we have led with are paying off. Our unemployment is 4.7%. That's as good as it ever gets with a Democrat administration. And that's where we're at right now in the middle of a pandemic. And so our policies are working, and we're going to continue to push forward with those policies. So we're really excited for session to start here in a couple months, and really look forward to continue to work with Speaker Grassley, Governor Reynolds, to continue to move this state forward. I would ask for any questions if there are any.
You just talked about it was the House that saw potentially the most gains for Republicans, but how the Senate views that election in context of the whole legislature, again, being Republican control for another 2 years before potentially the again. I'm like, what is math? Just another, tenure of Republican control here.
Yeah, again, I think it validates a lot of the decisions that we've been making over the last 4 years. We've had a Republican trifecta for 4 years now, and Iowans have continuously brought us back to be in charge. And we saw a tremendous amount of out-of-state money come into Iowa to try to buy these elections. And the number one message that I heard was Iowans can't be bought. We're gonna support our local people, and we're gonna support the job that they're doing in the legislature. We're not gonna have California, New York, Washington D.C. money coming into Iowa and buying elections. And the Iowa House, because it was such a close margin, they had an onslaught of big dollar, special interest, national money coming in to try to take the Iowa House. And not only did they keep the Iowa House, but they picked up seats. And so we feel very good about that, but we know that we have a lot of work left to do. I mean, our economy is still fragile with a pandemic going on, but we believe the policies that we put in place the last 4 years to help businesses, reduce regulations, get people the skills they need for jobs will pay off when we're trying to rebuild this economy.
Any specific pieces of legislation you have in mind for this session?
It's a little too early for specific pieces, but I can say things like tax reform. I've said this many times, as long as I'm leader, as long as we're in the majority, tax reform is going to be on the agenda. We've taken several steps forward with our tax climate in the state of Iowa, but it's not as good as it needs to be, and so we're going to always continue to work on that. Mental health was an issue that we came really close to getting solved last year, and then we shut down for COVID, and the budget was in stress. That's something we need to solve too, mental health. And then continuing to find workers and get workers the skills they need to fill the jobs that we have here in Iowa to continue to grow and help our businesses grow.
Senator, can you tell us what the session, we might expect the session to look like when we start in January? And when you came back in June, there were precautions put in place, right? What are some of those precautions that are going to continue forward? And would there be any consideration of sort of gaveling in and gaveling out and starting the session later when maybe a vaccine is on the horizon?
Yeah, I think it's really too early to tell that. Obviously, we've been laser focused on elections. I mean, that was our number one goal, is to get to election day, keep our incumbents, which I'm proud to say we kept every single incumbent, including one in a really tough fight here in the Des Moines suburbs. So our focus has been on the elections so far. We'll have those conversations with the House and the governor about what session will look like, I'm sure in the next few days, but I don't have anything new to report on that right now.
Will criminal justice reform be a priority?
It's something I know the governor has led on over the interim, and as always, we're going to work close with the governor and whatever agenda she puts forward. And so I would say this, we have done several things on criminal justice reform over the last few years, so it's not like we've ignored this issue and now all of a sudden we have to do a bill. We have passed several bills with the leadership of Brad Zaun and his Judiciary Committee, Dan Dawson, who serves on that committee. We have really led from the get-go in the Iowa Senate on that, and so we'll continue to work with the governor on any proposals she brings forward.
Just to add on to that, Senator Zaun, you had worked in the past on an anti-racial profiling bill. Is that the kind of thing you could see coming back up this year?
Listen, I haven't had, first of all, I don't know if I'm going to be the Judiciary Chairman because we're going to go through that process. Second of all, I will continue the conversations with the governor in regards to that. And like our leader said, I mean, we want to work with the governor. Right now, it's way too premature to even have that conversation.
Senator Whitver mentioned the budget crunch a bit, or looking, this past session, and I know some of the estimates were down for the next fiscal year for budgeting purposes. I know you guys have a surplus, but when you're talking about tax cuts and mental health funding, I mean, how do you balance all of that, knowing that there is so much uncertainty when you're talking about the state budget during this time with the pandemic?
Yeah, well, I'm really proud of where our state budget is compared to many states. There are states around the country that frankly are going out to DC and begging for bailouts because they've mismanaged their budgets. And here in the state of Iowa, that's not the case. We shut our economy down for 3 months here in the state of Iowa and still ended with a $300 million surplus. And that's a testament to a lot of great work and tough decisions over the last 4 years. And so while we're in a strong position, we know we're not out of the clear yet. We'll have another estimate come out in December that will give us a lot more information about our budget. But one of the things that I am concerned about personally is what income tax revenues look like in this budget year. We won't know that until probably January or February, and so certainly we're watching it very close, but certainly I think we should be proud of the work that we've done here in the state of Iowa to balance our budget, end with the surplus. We have our rainy day accounts filled with almost $1 billion, and so we're in about as strongest position as any state in the country, and that's not just me saying it. The Council of State Governments did a study, and they looked at every single state and said, who is the best position to survive COVID? And we came out tied for #1 in that. And so those tough decisions, they are tough, and we take heat for them. But at the end of the day, when the tough times came that we knew would happen, we didn't know what it would be, but we knew tough times would come, we were prepared, and we still have a surplus, and we're still projected to have a surplus next year.
Senator, you just had your first caucus meeting, right, with there's a bunch of new members, right? Did they give you an idea of what they want to work on this year? And then also, are you all getting to know each other? What was the vibe in there? What were you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a caucus to kind of go through detail by detail on issues. It's more electing a leadership, kind of rehashing elections, lesson learned from the elections, and just start initially those conversations. So we don't have details on anything that we may want to put forward, but we'll have an issue caucus coming up in the next month, and certainly we'll have plenty of time to roll out a lot of that agenda as we go forward. But as we just talked about, knowing what the state budget looks like, or having more information on the state budget, will provide more insight on what that agenda can be. I mean, if we're looking at cutting budgets again, that changes the dynamic from if we're having a big surplus. And so there's still a lot to be determined, and I think we'll know more within the next month to month and a half.
Senator, one more comment on the elections. The president performed very well here, similar margins as 4 years ago. Do you believe that the legislative Republicans benefited from Trump at the top of the ticket?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it. The turnout in the state of Iowa was probably the highest we've ever had. And for all the talk about voter suppression and all these election laws we're working on, it's nonsense. We had the highest turnout we've ever had. There's no suppression going on. But what I think we saw that is really important across the state is election laws matter. And really in Iowa, we have put a lot of effort into election laws to make sure that our elections are secure. We have voter ID in place. We've worked with the Secretary of State to make sure those absentee ballots could get counted early and reported right away. And so those election laws have been very important. But certainly President Trump performed very well in the state of Iowa. And certainly in many parts of the state, it was a tremendous benefit for a lot of our candidates.
Senator Chapman, I wonder if you could step up to the mic and talk a little bit about, you know, what you're looking forward to, how you see yourself filling this role of president.
Well, first of all, we have a tremendous group here in the Iowa Senate, Republican colleagues, and it really is just a privilege and an honor to be chosen by them to help lead our agenda. And you just heard our majority leader kind of lay out some of those things that we have accomplished. And there's no question that this election just demonstrated that Iowans support the Republican agenda. We have led on economic issues. You know, pre-COVID, we had one of the greatest economies that Iowa's ever seen, lowest unemployment rate. And what I think our colleagues are very excited about is to get back to work and to improve our economy. We're seeing it come back now, 5 straight months in a row where the unemployment rate has dropped. And that's going to continue to be the focus, but I'm just really thrilled and excited to be able to help lead this caucus.
All right, thank you guys very much.
Thank you all.